But unfortunately, Leia, I think she is a Bitcoiner, but she knows that there is money in shitcoin, so she promotes shitcoins for money, I think, which is a shame. So I've called her out numerous times on that, and hence I am blocked for doing so.
Because you did it in a kind, loving, compassionate way that you normally do.
You fucking scammer.
I think the issue is that a lot of Bitcoiners have zero knowledge of any kind. They parrot shit that other influencers say, and even those influencers are not well researched. They are not credible. Their arguments are not like based in any sort of fact and any sort of objective or even subjective reality. So you have this increasingly like insane echo chamber. You have these insane purity tests that somehow you have to pass to be a Bitcoiner. And it's just not fun, number one. And number two, there's a huge sort of like alt-right element. There's a huge Christian fundamentalist element. It's deeply misogynistic. Like the Bitcoin incels, like I was mentioning to you guys in the pre-show, they're sending me pictures of empty egg cartons to like imply that I'm barren, and somehow that my role as a woman is to be baby incubator. I'm like, what is actually wrong with you? Like, where in your life did you take this turn that this is somehow an activity you spend time on? Like, I think Bitcoin maximalism and the way it's implemented and practiced today is a mental illness. Truly, it's really sad.
Here it is, podcast number 64, the 4 Bs, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. Unfortunately, he's not here, and that is Dr. Evil 10%, but naturally he will be listening, aka the People's Champ, and she's not here, still. Mrs. No Show, still Mrs. No Show. But we have a new Bitcoiner in the house. Literally.
Yeah, since I was last on, had a baby.
Yeah.
13 days in. So yes, we have a new little Bitcoiner in the world.
Another Bitcoin for a new one. Yeah, that's the one.
Another Bitcoin address has been taken up and has some Bitcoin in it now that is in her name. So it's that's why I wasn't here last week. Still, it is weird just having to like obviously alter your sleeping and your work schedule based on having a baby around, because essentially they are the schedule now. But you get used to it, don't you? And you manage to fit these little pockets of time in, so you suddenly can go, oh, we can jump on and chat shit about Bitcoin for a couple of hours, and it's not going to
absolutely. You still finding time for OnlyFans as well?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I make sure I keep my fans happy, get some dick pics out. It makes me too much money to stop now.
Yeah.
I'm up. Yeah, I had so much time. I've even finished at the office a little bit now. So the environment I'm in, so I've got the Bitcoin white paper. It's actually here. You can't read it. That's the Bitcoin white paper on a nice steel sheet. So you can get the official one from like some very arty websites. I think that's a bit bigger than that one, and it costs like £500 or something, maybe even more. But or you can go to Displate and get it for like 50 quid. So I've got that. And,
nice.
Got me around.
I mean, it's 8 sheets. So what is it? Just smaller writing on the on a A3 sized picture.
Yeah. So it's perfectly, it's nice and readable when you're up, you can read it clearly. It's got all the mathematical equations in that. You can actually get it just A4. I don't even know. The text is really small.
Yeah, of course.
But A3, it's weirdly, I got A3 thinking, even that might be too big. And you shove it on a wall, and like, actually the wall kind of, it could have been even bigger. I could have gone A3.
Yeah. But what's the quality like with Displate?
What's the what?
What's the quality like with Displate?
Superb, absolutely superb. the hanging is exceptional as well. Like they give you a little sticky bit of paper that comes off the wall, and then on the sticky paper you just stick a big magnet, and then you just put the thing on, put the picture on it. So the beauty of that is obviously all the other pictures I've hung are nails in walls. They have to be exactly the right height, and if you're going to do two, they have to be level. So there's a lot of faffing with that. With that one over there, you just shove the magnet in anywhere, and the magnet sticks to like the top bottom side of the magnet. So you can just completely, like, you can make a lot of mistakes. And the beautiful thing is, even if you, well, number one, if you buy lots of disc plates, you can take that one down, put a different one on. And if you decide you don't want it at all, you just take it down and pull off the bit of paper, and no one's any the wiser. There's no holes in the wall. So I think their core business model was for students. Like, it's the new poster, and it's a poster, it's a much better quality poster, pretty much the same cost as a poster, because like the smaller ones are like 20 quid. You can get an A4 kind of display sent to you for 20 quid, and doesn't damage the walls, and you can put it anywhere, and you don't have to be an expert hanger, and you have to worry, you know, like I have the little device making sure I'm not hitting a water pipe or electricity wire. I'm always, the number one thing I'm worried about putting a freaking picture in the wall. And I nearly did it actually on that wall over there. I thought there's definitely nothing in here. I nearly didn't check, and I did it, and it beat. I'm like, oh, there's something behind here. I'll move the picture a couple of inches to the side, and because I just slammed a nail straight in there, and I don't know what is behind that. Could have been electricity wire, could have been a water pipe. Either way, I don't want to hit that with a freaking hammer. So so with display, you'd have to worry about that. You're not slammed into the wall, you're just sticking a sticker on the outside with a magnet on it. It's kind of a genius little business plan, to be fair to them.
Definitely sold me on it. I've seen so many images on there that I love, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm so conscious of the walls in the house, because again, as we were just talking before with property, just moving some tenants out, moving new people in, one of the jobs is patching up the holes from pictures that they've put on. You know, we're not adverse to people putting pictures up or clocks and everything else, but yeah, it leaves some nasty marks in the wall that then need to be obviously redone. So yeah, display it is.
Yeah, no, I come highly recommended. Because like I said, like, even if obviously if you own in the house for a long time and your taste change over time, just buy display. You take the old one down, potentially throw it away if you don't want it, especially for kids. I'm really thinking about it for the kids. So you put a load of disc plates around the room, and obviously they start off in their fairies and mermaids and all that kind of stuff. Then as they get older, they're going to want, you know, rock stars, and who knows what they're going to want. So you just take that one down, put the other one up, and if you have other kids, guess what? You've still got the old ones. They're just nice hard bits of metal. They're not crappy posters that get damaged, or even photo frames that get smashed, and they're quite solid bits of metal, and they're really easy to see. So I'm like, this is me now. I'm just like, display all the way. So big
plug for Displate there. Displate sponsored Pod 64 and beyond. But no, they've got a great business model actually. Yeah, and I love some of the art that they've got on there as well. It's perfect.
Yeah, got some nice Bitcoin stuff on there. I bought some nice Bitcoin stuff for the nursery actually. Kind of like a bit kiddie and all that, a bit cartoony. I was like, I'll just buy a few displays, bang it in the nursery.
Brilliant.
I've got a brand, the baby with Bitcoin. It's just has to be the way. Like, the room is orange as well. The nursery is Bitcoin orange and has Bitcoin artwork everywhere. This kid's going to be a Bitcoin maxi, whether it likes it or not.
Oh, please don't. Well, you know what they do, don't they? They typically rebel. So everything we try, they probably want the opposite. So yeah, I hope that's not the case, and she listens.
Can have a dink doink maxi instead, then, are we? That won't last long.
No. Oh gosh. So what's been happening in the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies since we last spoke, Kay?
Yeah, well, the first thing we got on the docket for today is something from a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah.
So it's actually back from March 2019 when Hodlnaut said that Craig Wright was a fraud. And at the time, everybody on Bitcoin Twitter was calling Craig Wright a fraud. Yeah. And he decided just to go, look, line in the sand, the next person that calls me a fraud, I'm going to sue you for defamation because I am not a fraud. So Hodlnaut still said it and went, Craig Wright, you are a fraud. And so he sued him. He sued him back in 2019. At the time, like, obviously suing Hodlnaut is quite funny because that's not a real name, right? He's a cat on the internet. But weirdly, the BSV guys actually found out the real name of Hodlnaut by looking through his Twitter posts, realizing he was at certain events. Someone tagged him in a photo, managed to find his real name. I think he's based in Norway or Denmark, one of those.
Yeah, I think it was Norway, yeah.
So managed to send him the legal letters, or you are being sued. So it's now coming up. It's in the next week or so is the court case for that. It's all come around. And Hodlnaut has posted a update this week, basically saying that he does need further support from the community on paying for the legal fees. I think they're really mounting up. And I did see an update from him. This post he made on the 18th. So
that's right.
5 days ago now. And he raised over 50 Bitcoin in that time. So not bad. Yeah, 50 Bitcoin in 5 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not bad, so that's given him a nice chunk of change to continue and have more kind of firepower behind his defense. Because the problem is with on the prosecution side, on Craig Wright's side, he has Calvin Ayre, who is a legitimate billionaire in different fields. He owns a very big gambling company. I think it's Bodog or something. I think Bodog Gaming.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Bodog, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's Calvin Ayre's company. So it makes a shit ton of money. And so he's a billionaire and he is backing Craig Wright for whatever crazy reason, whether he's Satoshi, whether he's doing it for fun, like who knows what Calvin's really thinking. I don't think he is thinking probably, but that's the problem with Craig, is that he's bankrolled by a very rich guy. So he can come after small independent Bitcoiners and kind of in courts like this, with the type of lawsuits he sends you, he just drowns you in paperwork. So you're like everyday solicitor that you're going to give a couple of grand to, it's just going to be like, what the hell is this? Like my office is full of paper now from Craig Wright, and I have to review all this and respond to it in some sensible form. It's going to take me months. So you're going to have to pay me a shit ton of money to get a load more lawyers in and full time to look through all this, because he's doing the classic, if I can get you to quit, then there's a default judgment that I win. And therefore, if I'm not a fraud, therefore my claim that I'm Satoshi is true. That's his weird, twisted logic.
It solidifies his legitimacy, even though it's not legit.
No.
Because he'll just point back to, but remember when I won this court case?
Yeah. But the thing is, though, the court case isn't saying he is Satoshi. It's saying arbitrarily, potentially, we can't prove you're a fraud, even though he has been caught categorically for tax fraud in Australia. So he is a fraud because he committed tax fraud.
But it stops anybody else from from questioning him.
He thinks by winning this case, it therefore proves he's Satoshi, which is totally bizarre, because no one is going to suddenly, if he wins this case, just for the sake of argument, I don't think he will against Hodlnaut. I think Hodlnaut will probably win, or at least it would be a kind of, I don't know, I think the judge is going to go, what the fuck is this? Like some guy on the internet who has a cat profile picture called you a fraud, and like you both spent millions of dollars to like fight this, and at the end it's going to be like some nondescript kind of, I don't know anything what the judge will do. Probably just throw
what did we get from the Wagatha Christie case? There was millions of pounds spent between Jamie Vardy's wife and Colleen Rooney.
Oh, right.
All for what? To get what? The outcome that she lied. We knew that.
Yeah, and then it's like, then what? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? People get it in their heads. They just want, I think, like that gratification. They want someone formally to say you were right.
Yeah.
Even if it almost cost you everything to get to that.
Yeah. From the Chimp Paradox, the book, there's something in us where, where you literally have to get it out. You have to be able to have your say in your voice. And maybe there's also that hardwired into our DNA to also be proven right. And the chimp will not stop until the chimp has been proven right, essentially. Yeah, it'll just drive someone mad, literally.
Yeah. And weirdly, I think in this example, it isn't. It probably isn't that. It isn't like that Rooney and Vardy case. It's more of a Craig Wright is a fucking sociopath and thinks that, because I've heard his latest definitions of why he won't prove he's Satoshi, and I will prove it in the law courts, which are the most trusted kind of institutions of the land. Me just moving some coins, you will still say that, oh, I stole them or something. But if categorically I am proved to be Satoshi in a law court, that's even better than moving coins. It's like, I see how you're trying to shift the argument here, but literally, because he's not even suing to prove I am Satoshi. He's proving about something left field from it anyway, that he's not a fraud. So not being a fraud doesn't mean you're therefore Satoshi anyway. And he knows this. He's just playing these weird games that Craig plays. It's just, you just can't get any sense out of him. He's literally a sociopathic liar. And so yeah, but the main reason why we mentioned this story is if you want to donate to Hodlonaut, and then go onto his Twitter account. And it's defendingbtc.com is his website. And you can click on that link. Actually, I clicked on it recently. Has it been updated? Well, actually, it's 2 days, 19 hours until it happens, and I think you can actually listen in to potentially to the court case. So
a live stream.
Yeah, I think you might be able to listen. It says telethon. That would be awesome if you could actually listen on. Yeah. Click on the donate tab. Yeah, he's got 54 Bitcoin now. Yeah, I think he had 52 Bitcoin last time I was here. He had 1,500 donations. Now he's at 2,083. So yeah, I'd recommend everyone that wants to support Bitcoin and support Bitcoin Twitter, like, just send Hodlonaut a couple of sats. I know it is going to a law company to fight something that is very pedantic, but people like Craig Wright, they need to be chased out. They need these frivolous lawsuits. He needs to lose them, so he stops it. So because if he wins these things, then he's going to encourage him to do more. And he comes after the developers, he comes after the prominent people on Bitcoin Twitter, just claiming that he is Bitcoin, and anything you say about Bitcoin is not right. It's just, he needs to be stopped. So it seems to be his plan of attack is to come through the law courts. So that's where we need to fight him. And the way to help that fight is just to throw a few sats Hodlonaut's way, if you so feel inclined.
It says here, it's starting on September the 12th in Oslo, Norway. Hodlonaut will take to the stand to defend his allegations, but yet it's got 2 days, 18 hours. What's the difference there?
Yeah, he did have a court case there, where he tried to have it thrown out. So Hodlonaut tried to go, this is a frivolous claim, and it's not worth defending, it's not a case. So they held a court in Norway to go, I'm not going to Britain to defend this. Ridiculous. But he lost there. So that court ruled that it is a case worth hearing. So then 2 years later, or 3 years later, they now have the case in Britain, where Hodlonaut needs to come to Britain to defend himself, because that is where Craig is, and that's where he sued him from. And I think at the time, like, Norway was all part of the same jurisdiction, essentially. So you can sue within the EU. If you're like American, you would have got away with it. But which is why the two people he sued were Peter McCormack and Hodlonaut. Hodlonaut was in Norway and Peter McCormack was in Britain. So that's why it worked. There was loads of Americans calling him a fraud, but he didn't go after them, because the good thing about America is they have free speech. We don't have free speech here. You're not allowed to call someone a fraud. If you do call someone a fraud in Britain, then you have to back up that claim. In America, you can call someone a fraud all day long, and you have to back it up. It's just free speech. So it's definitely something the Americans have over Europe. That
it's a libel and defamation case, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, it's like, is it defamation really? And in America, it's not. In Britain, it is. That's the law for you.
You've got to have some form of character to have some form of defamation of character, and Craig Wright doesn't have that.
I know.
But not a good character anyway.
Anyway, enough of Craig anyway.
Yeah.
Move on to a happier story. It's just only a little story. It's a nice little kind of token story really in here, where there's a small village in Nigeria, 50,000 people in it. And there's some donations made at the Bitcoin conference and amounted to about $6,000. So they went out and they used that money to dig a well in Igabaruku. Probably totally butchered that. But they dug that. So now they don't have to walk for water, they have water in their own village. And so this is a nice little happy story. It's not changing the world. It's not like the whole of Nigeria or anything like that. It's one little village, $6,000. We just talked about raising 50 Bitcoin for Hodl, which is $1 million, isn't it? Right? This is $6,000. And really, when you really think about this, what we should all be donating our sats towards is stuff like this. If someone was out there doing this and for $6,000 you give a village water, as opposed to $1 million to fight Craig Wright in a frivolous lawsuit, which is just, is he a fraud or not, when everyone knows he is. It's a bit of a shame, but this is a nice little story.
This also reminds me, actually, because I had this thought when I saw one of those adverts that come on, and I want to say it was like for trachoma or something like that. It's like an eye disease where people in Africa suffer from not being able to see properly because their eyelashes grow inwards, and it can be fixed by an easy procedure. And classically, it was the £2 a month request. But I find with these charities, and probably because of my skeptic and cynical nature, that you always wonder, well, is that money actually going all the way to said charity and to said person? But as we know, with Bitcoin, it can be traced, it can be tracked. And of course, you can send it super easy through Lightning, of course. So, and it doesn't need to be that much, so as this project here proves, and as that charity there proves. So when will charities adopt Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to therefore be able to prove that the money is going to the right person and the right charity? Because that will continue to change things. And again, it doesn't need to be that much.
Yeah, there is something about that. It's a good point around, I don't trust charities either. But then when you see the Bitcoin Foundation and they say, we want to build a well in Nigeria, straight away I just believe them. I just believe that they're going to do it, and they're not going to take 90% of the money as management fees and then give 10% to the actual people that needed it. They've gone out. It's the whole don't trust, verify. They've got $6,000, which in the day is nearly nothing. And if you fly a few people out to Nigeria, $6,000 gone. So now what? So they've clearly flown out there either on their own dime or with different money. They've got there, and they spent $6,000 on the actual well and digging it, and then they've put it in and they've left it there. And now a whole community of 1,000 people have water without having to walk miles for it. It's just nice. It's nice to be able to actually trust a charity that some CEO at the top taking $1 million a year as a salary, and that's really what you're funding, and no money gets to the people unless he's paid first. It's nice to see it. But
and I think maybe it was in one of our stories just last week as well, that of course Nigeria moving closer and closer to having Bitcoin as well. because of their hyperinflation that's happening in Nigeria. So it's examples like this, and again, their debasement of money means that Bitcoin will probably be happening quicker than we expect it. And it'll be these pockets of examples and use cases that will continue to come about, which will then eventually just make rise to Bitcoin being the number one answer.
Yeah, and the main reason why I put this on the docket really is because when all us Bitcoiners become stupidly rich, we hit Bitcoin hyperinization, then we all need to be doing stuff like this. This is the stuff that matters. We don't virtual signal here. We don't change our pronouns on LinkedIn. We don't do that bollocks. Either donate or actually fly out and go put a well in somewhere that needs water. Like this is the stuff that Bitcoiners do. We're not virtual signalers. We're actually put thoughts into action, and it's the season. So Bitcoiners already doing it, even technically in a bear market, because this is it's a tough time to be generous in a bear market. So fair play to them for doing it. But
I think it also goes on to leads us on into the next story really well, because once you are financially free and hyper Bitcoinization happens, then you can actually give, to give back. And it's interesting because there's a guy called, you ever come across Dave Ramsey?
No.
So he's one of these
fake gurus.
Yeah, fake gurus, American radio personality.
I'm going to hate him, aren't I? I already know.
You're going to hate him. But he's quite religious as well.
Is he a bald guy with a white beard?
That's the one.
What the hell? I've got an image here where he's next to a picture of Jesus. Like what? It was this guy. Go on, tell me who this guy is.
He's been protestizing this whole Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps for people to be financially wealthy. So the first step is save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Right. And so that's the beginning of the snowball. The second is pay off all debt except the house. Then the third is save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. Step 4 is invest 15% of your household income in retirement. Step 5 is save for the children's college fund, of course, if you've got kids and if, of course, they're going to go to college. Step 6 is pay off your home early. But step 7 is build wealth and give back. Now, those are super, super easy in his mind.
It's easy to read. That's like...
It's easy to read.
Step 8, win the Olympic gold medal.
Exactly.
It's easy to me write this shit down. There's a lot of detail that goes in between.
Yeah.
Build wealth and get pay off your home early.
Pay off your home early.
Well, of course. Well, pay it off even earlier. But how? This stuff is challenging. This literally reminds me of the meme on Reddit, right? Where it's how to draw an owl in 2 simple steps. Step 1 is draw 2 circles. Step 2 is draw the rest of the owl. So I need a little bit of guidance here. Like you started off slow, I was with you, and then it's rush to the end.
Absolutely. Up to step 3 of save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Okay, right.
Yeah, it starts off slow, like save $1,000. Okay, everyone
save $1,000.
Pay off debt. Yeah. So even step 2, I'd say pay off debt.
Ultimately,
even some people might even struggle with that, but I agree, pay off debt, yeah.
Pay off debt. You might not even be in debt, so you may be even able to skip step 2, so that's even better.
But why are we talking about this, guys? Because clearly his steps are completely
So we're just talking about, ultimately, he's all about giving back. So once you are financially free, he does a lot of the time say, you want to give back. And he says the whole reason you should be doing all of this is so that you can help. So you
Okay.
really, so ultimately,
Right, well, do you want me to give you my 3 simple steps?
these are, yeah, Mr. Rawlins' 3 simple steps.
They're way
Maybe
better.
this could be a YouTube short, so we can splice this. So
no, to be fair, I heard this at a conference and someone said it, and I just actually thought it really good, and I modeled my life on it. Spend the first third of your life learning. Don't worry about earning money. Don't worry about giving back. Just learn from people and figure out what you're good at. The second third of your life, spend it all about earning. Earn as much money as you can. Use everything you learned in the first third to earn shit tons of money. Don't worry about learning too much anymore. Don't worry about giving back. Earn a fuck ton of money. The third part of your life, give back. You have now built up a lot of knowledge, a lot of wealth. Now you are much better positioned to give back in a much more meaningful way. A lot of people try and give back in their very early years. They're very empathetic. They're students. They're coming out in the world. They're seeing a lot of pain in the world. And they straight away, their first couple of paychecks, they start donating to various charities. They want to donate and work down the homeless shelter and all stuff like that. Weirdly, it's better if you don't. Learn, earn, then give back. Really good rough model for how you should live your life. And you'll basically, what you'll do by doing that is you will maximize your own personal wealth and happiness. And then you'll maximize the impact you can do on others as well. Because you'll do it at the time of your life when your kids are growing up and you're actually knowledgeable and wealthy enough to actually do stuff. So instead of just being one volunteer, you might be the guy that starts the charity that hires 10,000 people. How much of an impact you're having now? I think that's way better than this 7 steps.
I think so. Super easy to follow.
Yeah, 3 steps, not 7. It's like literally twice as easy.
There you have it. We've solved everything.
Don't know how we got onto that, but yeah.
Well, let's get on to the base bull and bear cases for Bitcoin returns in 2022. So this came about by analyzing Federal Reserve policy decisions in addition to data. Is that right? To give us 3 scenarios for the Bitcoin price. So
yes.
3 managers, data from Purchasing Managers Index can give us 3 scenarios for the Bitcoin price.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious, right? So it's just the rest of 2022.
Yeah.
So their base case, so the most likely, I think, or the middle case is that Bitcoin decreases by 10% over the next 6 months. And their bear case is Bitcoin goes down by 37%. But their bull case is that Bitcoin goes up by 29%. So, but then what's kind of hilarious about this is that all 3 scenarios are equally probable. So they have no clue what's going to happen. I think they're slightly more bearish than bullish because the base case isn't 0, it's -10. And basically the expected return on the bear case is minus 37%, and the bull case is +29. But really what they're saying is maybe Bitcoin will go up, maybe it'll go down, both are equal, or maybe it will stay the same. Thanks for that, guys. How many years in fucking college and how many data points have you studied to basically tell us Bitcoin might go up or it might go down or it might stay the same?
It sounds like an episode of The Misinformation brought to you by Sir Never Look and Dr. Evil 10%. You're absolutely right. You don't know what to believe. The figures could be anything.
And there's a load of charts in this article, right? And
yeah.
I've looked at a couple, and I look. They are using it on real data. They're trying to basically say, let's have a look at the amount of spending that the US government are going to do. If they're going to continue to spend loads, then yeah, the bull case kind of comes in. If they continue to just slow it down a little bit, then the base case comes in. If they completely stop spending and maybe you can go into a deficit, then the bear case comes in. But you just go in. Whenever I see stuff like this, I go, okay. how much money the US spends does factor into the price of Bitcoin, that undoubtedly. But it isn't the only factor. It really isn't. And there's so many global factors. There could be just like the US government might decide that they're suddenly going to come off inflation and go into a massive deficit. Like we literally, our next story proves they are categorically not doing that. But let's just say they did. Still, an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos or whatever could just turn up and go, I'm buying 10 billion of Bitcoin. The price would 10x overnight.
Yeah.
So all that macro news could be negative, but one piece of micro news would send Bitcoin to the moon. I never really buy into this too much. I think we've learned from the last 24 months of all the macro guys going, oh, Bitcoin's going up. It's guaranteed to 100K. If anything, over 100K. It's more like, how far over 100K do we go? That's the question. And then obviously we topped at 69K and went all the way down to like 15. So I'm not really too trustful in these macro guys anymore. The data doesn't seem to matter when it comes to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think maybe just thinking the opposite ultimately, because that's what seems to happen. You know what? Every time I've put money into Bitcoin, the price has gone down. So we started the podcast, the price has gone down. So yeah, we're still really waiting for it to get a lot bigger and better. It's a long road. It's a long road. My take on things is that hyper-Bitcoinization will certainly happen, but maybe just not as soon as we think. It's like if you look back and think about the internet, what a concept. But it wasn't necessarily from the masses thought of as, oh my God, this is an amazing thing immediately. But really, it was. And it just took time. And there's new use cases that obviously came along and ultimately we're there now, nearly. But it's still got a long way to go. Last time I looked, I think there was about 200 million Bitcoin users and holders. And we need to 5x that. And once we get to 1 billion people, that's when we're really starting to go into overdrive.
Yeah, no, I agree. And weirdly, like people like Mark Zuckerberg, as much as I don't really respect him anymore, but he even said that once you get to 1 billion users of one of his platforms, that's when it reaches such critical mass that basically everyone in the world is going to use that product at some point now. It's going to happen. So that's when he basically decided he wasn't going to monetize the product until it got to 1 billion users. Because once you get to 1 billion, like they're not leaving now. It's integral in people's day to day. So now you can kind of throw ads at them and even monitor their usage, and they won't like it, but it's so integral they won't move away. Before that, there's a risk they leave, and that's, I think, spot on really. That's we're still at that point where there's a risk people leave, or there's a risk that we stay where we are. I mean, once we get to the 1 billion, Bitcoin then genuinely is inevitable. It's gonna happen. But at 200 million, maybe not. But admittedly, that 200 million number is obviously a little bit of guesswork. No one really knows how many Bitcoiners there are. You can know how many addresses there are, but people are going, I have dozens of addresses. So are there less than that? Or are there more? We don't really know, because on Lightning, that doesn't add addresses. That's above the main chain. They don't have their own address. So really, the beautiful thing about Bitcoin really is we don't know how many users we have, but then it's also annoying because we want to know when we hit 1 billion. Because once we hit 1 billion, then we know we're done. It's like the other 6 billion are coming along for the ride. It's just a matter of time.
It will happen. I think we need, as you mentioned, people like Mark Zuckerberg and things like Meta to happen as well, because once that happens, there'll be more use cases, there'll be more applications that will require things like Bitcoin or even some form of shitcoin, which will then essentially make people realize, oh yeah, this is shit, we really need to get to Bitcoin.
Yeah, Meta is not going to happen this year now.
The metaverse.
Yeah, the metaverse isn't going to happen.
You don't think?
No. It's just a 3D computer game that's really shit.
Do you? This is a controversy. You don't think that with all their money they won't make it work, or is this going to be the biggest flop? Which may be the reason why.
Yeah, it will be.
Facebook is no longer Facebook, and obviously, they could be their own killer.
I don't think it'll kill them. They'll just waste a shit ton of money on it, and people continue to use Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. I don't think the world is ready for it. I don't think the technology is ready. Because the thing is, like the whole metaverse, right? It's supposed to be the next version of the internet. So the internet is genuinely an online place where any of us can just shove a website up and it can do anything, right? It's genuinely like decentralized and anyone can do anything they want on it. These metaverses that they're creating, all they are is walled gardens of a 3D version of a computer game on the internet. And it's like, yeah, you can do anything you want in here. Yeah, provided Facebook say it's okay. And what if I want to just create a random website that's got a dick on it and put that on, MrAllin.com? You can't do that. It's against our terms of service. Well, guess what? There is no terms of service of the internet. So if I want to put MrAllin.com and put a picture of a dick on it, and people want to click on that picture, they can. That's the internet. So the metaverse is supposed to be a 3D version of the internet. And essentially no one has built that. No one is building a completely just decentralized version of the internet where you can walk into it and be somehow online. So they're just building a computer game in my eyes. It's just this is a bit of a fad where they're trying to, I honestly think they're trying to target at companies and do kind of video calls through this weird 3D world and try and charge them money. And I don't think it's going to work. I think they're just going to go, it's a bit of a fad. Yeah, I can have a cartoon character in the fucking room, but I'm not going to pay 10 grand a year to have this. I'll just do a Zoom call when I can see your face. So what's really the difference whether we're in our offices in different areas, or should we pretend we're on a desert island? I mean, that's not going to be distracting. Or is it like the first 10 minutes of every call is going to be like, what a fucking desert island, dude? Like, oh, can I throw some sand in your face? Like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Like, and no one is building a metaverse. That's my main point. Even if the metaverse was going to happen, no one is building it now. They're building computer games, and that is not a metaverse.
Okay. What about with the headset? So the Quest headset as well.
They're computer games. So and it's a crappy computer game as well. It's like the graphics are fucking awful in these things.
Yeah.
They're like really, really bad. And they're going, it's fine, it's bad because it's the metaverse. You're like, so people seem to be going, oh, it's okay, it's new. But like, if you switch on your Xbox or your PlayStation, you wouldn't accept those graphics.
Never.
Like the graphics popped up on your Xbox, you're like, what the fuck is it? I've gone back to 2002. This is complete shite. And but they're like, nah, it's the metaverse, dude. It's like 3D. You're like, dude, we're like 10 years too early. This is complete nonsense. Like, what will happen for the metaverse is just as there was Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the internet, we had Satoshi Nakamoto, who invented Bitcoin, we will have another random anonymous techie who's going to create some form of metaverse, going to throw it out there, and everyone's going to jump in. It's going to be fucking awesome, right? And I agree on the whole concept of people living in some form of matrix. I completely get it. I actually subscribe to the theory that we are in a simulation anyway, right now. This is a simulation. We are living in a simulation. So it's quite funny that the simulation is striving to live in a simulation themselves. And they can't wait to get in there. It's like fucking nonsense, but whatever. That's what we're doing.
This is a podcast in the making right there.
This is
the simulation
inception, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, we're trying to do it again. So, but yeah, so I believe it will happen. But I believe there will be a genius that probably isn't alive yet. They're probably being born around now, and then they'll pop up in 20, 30, 40 years and just throw it out on the internet, and everyone will be like, oh fuck, this is like actually the metaverse. Everyone else, they're just profiteering. They're trying to sell headsets and they're trying to sell random plugins and whatever. And it's like, it's just a computer game. And the fact that Facebook just called their company Meta doesn't mean it's the metaverse. It's just no. It's like it reminds what it does. It reminds me of the 2-star hotel that I nearly booked in Thailand, called themselves 5-star hotel. Just because you put 5-star in the name does not mean you have 5 stars on the official guide. You have a 2-star hotel that calls yourself 5-star. So that's the best analogy I can probably give for
that's so funny,
Facebook's metaverse. It's like, you call yourself a metaverse, but you're a 2-star hotel.
I was going to ask, do you think that genius could have been born 13 days ago? That's going to create the metaverse, the real metaverse. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe I'll get on a computer course early. She's going to be coding from the age of like 4. So who knows? Maybe she's
going to be doing the opposite of that, mate. She'll be she'll be rebelling.
Oh man, she'll have a tough time.
Kids don't conform. I'm
a master manipulation. If she starts rebelling, then I'll just do the opposite, and then she'll rebel and start coding. It's just whichever way she wants to play it, like whatever. She's fucking doing it. She's gonna create the metal.
yeah. So he's not here right now, as in Dr. Evil 10%. But let's get on to the Inflation Weekly and the US deflation bill.
I bet he's so sad that he misses this week, because this is a big one, right? This is probably one of the biggest bills that America has ever put forward. It's gonna, well, hilariously, right? It's called the deflation bill, but it's a 10-year bill, right? So this bill is hilarious. So Biden has put it through. It's got signed off, and they're going to do it. In the first 5 years, they spent.
Biden might not see the next 10 days. Forget the next 10 years.
Exactly. That's the main point that I'm about to make.
Yeah.
Because the only reason that this is somehow deflationary, even though they get to spend a shit ton of money, right? But in the first 5 years, they spent 380 billion every year for 5 years. So you're like, hold on, how is this deflationary? You just inflated the currency by 1.5 trillion just there. That's huge. Like, oh, but wait, have you looked at the next 5 years? The next 5 years, we decrease spending by over 380 billion. So net, we actually save 150 billion. And the good thing is about this is the commentary I've heard, even from massive Biden fans, is they all know that in the last 5 years never happened. So what's going to happen is the first 5. So they're going to spend their 1.5 trillion. Something's going to happen in that 5 years that they're going to go, oh, we need to spend loads more to stop this, whether it's climate change or war, whatever, like a pandemic, whatever they fucking make up, right? They're going to continue to spend. So the fact that they're calling this an inflation reduction bill is completely hilarious. Because if it was real, what you would do is go have 10 years of basically spending less and less and less, get to zero quick. Like I would get to zero within 3 to 4 years, then go negative. Instead, they're just like max spending straight away for 5 years, then a massive go cold turkey straight to 400 billion negative for 5 years. Who's the poor fucker that's inheriting that? Imagine being the president that walks in 5 years' time. Oh, congratulations, you're the guy that has to cut costs by 400 billion every year for the next 5 years. Who's going to get, you can guarantee the president or the candidate that stands up and goes, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend 400 billion instead, and I'm going to increase services. I'm going to increase he gets voted in, doesn't he?
Of course, all day, every day. They did the calculations wrong in 2022, meaning that I need to spend a little bit more. It's going to happen. You can see it already. It's just like a license to print, not deflate. And ultimately, it's the catalyst right here. This is the reason why we need to spend, and we've just drafted a bill that gives us carte blanche to be able to go ahead and spend.
Yeah, and I sent it into the group as well, because when you look into this 300 odd billion that they're spending every year one, 800 billion, sorry, 80 billion, not 800.
Yeah.
80 billion purely on IRS representatives, because a huge amount of the money that they want to get back, which comes back in the final 5 years, is more tax income. So just straight away, that completely blows my mind, right? Because again, I said it in the chat, which was, if you wanted to pay for a tax agency, just an independent company, to go, let's just, you do the taxes for the whole of America, build software, have agents to look at fraud, all that kind of stuff. What would the bill of that kind of company type, like that contract, cost? Maximum 500 million.
Yeah.
Let's say like just go crazy, it's 4 billion. Let's just go really nuts. Because a private company, like how many tens of thousands of employees have they got now to just manage 300 million people, and like 99% of people are just processed the fucking form.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just, most people are on salaries, right? So it's just, you don't even need to check it. Like, it's just like, what? And then it's like probably the final 10 or 20%, say, are the people that are doing investments, have properties, and are further up. So they're the people you can spend probably time on. But even that, you can write software for that, like machine learning, artificial intelligence. You can look at this stuff, and everyone's KYC. So every single platform, you know their profit and losses. Obviously, there's a lot of cash in hand type stuff. All right, fine. That is man on the street if you want to really try and catch those kind of sole traders doing cash in hand jobs and try and tax them. But really, like, if you paid more than 10 billion for an entire tax system, then you're fucking nuts. They spent 80 billion on expanding the one they have. This is a reckless use of money, right? And I actually heard someone talk about this, and they actually really had a really good point, which was, and the guys that were talking were billionaires. So they were saying the people think this 80 billion and all these extra IRS agents are going to be used to target millionaires and billionaires and make sure they pay their fair share of tax. They said that they already have their independent IRS agent. They know them by name. So they are already paying the right amount of tax. These agents are actually coming for the middle class. The people that have independent investments and make over what they should on capital gains, a lot of them are slipping through the net because they don't even know they're aware that they should be paying taxes on some of their investments. They're buying and selling and doing a bit of trading. So people are going to vote for this thinking they're coming for the big boys. And in reality, all these agents are going to come and suddenly start looking at the people that make between 50 and 100K, and they're making 20, 30 grand a year on investments, and they're not paying taxes, and they should be.
Yeah.
That's who's going to get hit. So people think that, oh, this is a deflation bill, and that's the way they're pitching it. And we're going to raise a load of money from taxing billionaires. Number one, it's not a deflation bill, it's an inflation bill, because we know that the final 5 years isn't going to happen, only the first 5 will happen. And in the first 5, they are funding a huge amount of tax agents to come after everyday people. So on the people that are making day-to-day mistakes and not paying the right amount of tax, they're going to get prosecuted, and they're going to have fines and taxes put on them. This is horrendous.
It's always the case, isn't it? It's always the case. It's like most bills are some way, shape or form a new law and a new covenant to try and bring down the average person. It's not to capture the big corporation.
Yeah.
They're not really in the eyes or the line of sight of these bills.
Yeah.
When they do, they don't draft a bill for it. they just fine them.
Yeah.
It's not written into law or passed that way. But what do you think is the reason why people just don't get it yet?
Well, I think it's cognitive dissonance at this point. I think a lot of people don't care. A lot of people want to put their head in the sand. And I think a lot of the propaganda of and really it's our next story, which someone actually says that exactly this, which is if you think this stuff is wrong and Biden is lying and this is not an inflation reduction bill, and the tax agents aren't going to go after billionaires, then therefore you are a conspiracy theorist. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, that means you're alt-right. So that means you're a racist. That means you're a homophobe. It means you're a misogynist. And it means you're a Nazi. So people just go, well, hold on, I don't want to be put in that camp. So what's the other camp? Well, the other camp is just say it's all right. So I think a lot of people just go for the easy life and go, it must be all right. And I think people don't want to really get to the point where they think the president of the United States is directly lying to them. It's really hard to come to that realization. Especially when the name of the bill is the lie. That's big, right? Really big.
Yeah.
Normally they'll say they're doing a thing, but then there'll be a chunk of change which is going off to do something else, and it'll be like a little bit of a lie mixed in. This is just right at the top. It's called the Inflation Reduction Bill. Categorically isn't doing that. It's going to further inflate the US monetary supply, and everybody knows it. And but I think a lot of people don't pay attention. I don't think a lot of people care, and a lot of people don't want to be called Nazis. So they don't want to.
It's funny you say this actually, because I had the thought earlier on as well around like, why didn't I get into Bitcoin earlier on? You know, most waking moments I'm thinking like about Bitcoin or the technology or something involved with it. It's all consuming. But prior to that, it's because the narrative that I was told is, Bitcoin's associated with the drug industry and criminals. And therefore I'm like, don't really want to get involved in that. I probably should say that's not for me. And had that narrative not been there, and I was actually told, well, this is something that's outside of the government that can be peer-to-peer, that cannot be inflated, and in its true value, it's hard money, I would have got and captured my interest. But of course, the narrative was not that, because I didn't want you to know that. So I do think you're right.
Yeah, and that's why propaganda is so powerful, right? It's
100%.
If you don't study a subject, which at the time you hadn't studied Bitcoin, so all you knew was the propaganda, and the propaganda is that Bitcoin's for criminals. It's also probably a Ponzi scheme, and if you invest your money, you're gonna lose everything. And because that's the narrative that is repeated over and over again in the mainstream media, because they obviously don't want people to convert their fiat dollars into Bitcoin. And it's the same for so many different subjects. And obviously it's completely the same for all the different initiatives that the government do. They parrot speak the same things over and over again. We saw that with the pandemic, right? Stay home. Was it protect the NHS, save lives? Over and over and over and over and over again. If you didn't want to dig into that and realize it was bollocks, then you're terrified. Like you just follow. You just go, look, it's just, I've been indoctrinated so much by this. I want to believe it so bad. The people that I respect that are in authority, that are telling me that they're in control, that's what they're saying. So if I go against that advice, Jesus Christ, I need to have done my homework big. And that takes a lot of energy to go, I'm not going to do what they say because I believe I am right and they are wrong. And not only does it take work, it takes a lot of bravery, because everybody is probably in the matrix themselves that believe this propaganda. So as you turn around and walk away, everybody you know is going to go, what are you doing? You're going the wrong way. Come back.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, no, you come with me. This is the way. And like, seriously, that is what Bitcoin is. Like, as you walk into Bitcoin, everybody you know tells you you're an idiot. What you're doing, you're walking the wrong way. Turn around, come back, come join the group. It's safe here, safety in numbers. And you're like, nah, the masses are about to get slaughtered. We're over here now. And you have to walk away and be independent. You haven't trusted, you verified. And that's why we can see this now. And like, it's why in our group chat, numerous times, like yourself and Dr. 10% goes, I wish I wasn't awake sometimes. It's just like seeing this stuff and just knowing that it is categorically a lie is sometimes quite disturbing and isn't nice, is it? You know, you just want to, it would be so nice to be in that American film where the president of the United States is a hero. It would be so nice. I would love to be in that world too. But unfortunately, it's when you don't live in an American film where the president of the United States is a hero. The president of the United States is a criminal and a terrorist, and he's coming for everything you've got. But he's going to do it with a smile on his face, not with a gun to your head. And it's very disconcerting when you realize that. And yeah, but it's
just got us cancelled. He's just got us cancelled. Yeah, but that was the end of the pod for life. We don't even get a strike; we just get cancelled.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, as well, that probably brings us on to the next story. No, sorry, not before that. I mean, we will talk about Andrew Tate getting banned from social media and cancelled. But before we do that, we'll move on to Shitcoin Corner. And Bitcoin maxis have a mental illness and misogynists. All right?
So I just love the intro of that story. But I was kind of just play the minute of Melton just talking about Bitcoin maximalists. And she just kind of destroys us. And I just thought it'd be funny to hear it.
Can we get it in? Can we
try
set up to
Yeah, should I share it?
Yeah.
How do I do that? So that's different.
So 33 minutes and was it 13? 30.
Oh man, yeah, I'm just figuring out how to share it. How do you share on here? Share screen, yeah.
Yeah, share screen. So
Jesus, it's right fucking there. Yeah. I'm an idiot. So I'm sharing.
There you go. Yep.
Like keto and just seed oil hate. And now there is actually really interesting thing happening in Bitcoin that I think is really scary. I agree with you, Kobe, to a certain degree that Bitcoin maximalism is honorable. And I am a Bitcoiner at heart, and I will defend Bitcoin with every breath I have. I think it is the most important cryptocurrency in terms of like what we always talk about as the aspirational goals of this industry and this movement. I think Bitcoin is the most important in that regard. I think the issue is that a lot of Bitcoiners have zero knowledge of any kind. They parrot shit that other influencers say, and even those influencers are not well researched. They are not credible. Their arguments are not like based in any sort of fact or in any sort of objective or even subjective reality. So you have this increasingly like insane echo chamber. You have these insane purity tests that somehow you have to pass to be a Bitcoiner. And it's just not fun, number one. And number two, there's a huge sort of like alt-right element. There's a huge Christian fundamentalist element. It's deeply misogynistic. Like the Bitcoin incels, like I was mentioning to you guys in the pre-show, they're sending me pictures of empty egg cartons to like imply that I'm barren, and somehow that my role as a woman is to be baby incubator. I'm like, what is actually wrong with you? Like, where in your life did you take this turn that this is somehow an activity you spend time on? Like, I think Bitcoin maximalism and the way it's implemented and practiced today is a mental illness. Truly, it's really sad.
That is
Okay. So there we go. That. Oh, that is her rant, right? And
Wow.
It
That's a lot.
I love how she started off like, okay, I'm saying that she's a Bitcoiner, and then by the end she was like, we're incels, misogynists, alt-right, and the fact that some guy send her a picture of an empty egg card to say that she's barren. I'm like, okay, that is super harsh. I don't know if it's true or not, but how does that represent all Bitcoiners? And the whole reason I even bring this up, because I did watch this podcast. I quite like this podcast, right? It's a shitcoin podcast, but Kobe is quite balanced numerous times. So in this one, he does actually say Bitcoin maxis, at least they have a foundation. At least they have morals. At least they are fighting for something that is genuine. None of them get it. None of them get the fact that sound money is going to like change the world, and that's the root of all problems that exist. But then, obviously, like you have her, like Melton is also, she has been in front of Congress fighting Bitcoin's corner, and she did a great job, like a fantastic job. It was like 4 or 5 years ago she did that. But then she started shitcoining, and I think she lost a lot of money trading Bitcoin and lost all her money. So she started shitcoining, and now she's like, oh, there's some weird purity test of what makes you a Bitcoiner, what makes you, what not. And essentially she didn't make the cut. She got cast out and was called a shitcoiner because she is. And she admits it on this podcast, like yet again, that like she loves money. And later on, she starts talking about some random NFT. I've forgotten, it's dick butts, literally. She starts talking about dick butts, right? And she goes, why it's such a good community is because they promise nothing. Other NFT communities promise that there's either going to be a game or an event or a metaverse come from it. And then when they don't deliver, everyone gets angry. The beautiful thing about dick butts is they don't promise anything, so therefore you can't get angry. And I'm like, this is coming from the same person that says Bitcoin maximalists are bad and we're like Melton, have you heard yourself? Like what the fuck?
Wow. Where do we start with that? Like,
there's a lot.
Because you don't get anything, it's a good thing. Like, NFTs are nothing in the first place anyway.
Yeah, it's a JPEG. So at least it's finally the first JPEG that is admitting all you get is a JPEG.
Yeah.
So at least then, you know, when you do the whole copy paste thing, it's like, well, I have one too.
Yeah.
Literally, they can't argue it. Because in other NFT worlds, are like, yeah, but my one will get me into the VIP lounge in the metaverse. Yours won't, because mine has the blockchain stamp, yours doesn't. You're like, oh, okay, well, let's see if that blockchain fucking metaverse thing happens first to see whether your 300 grand picture of an ape works. And guess what? The developer that was meant to be building the metaverse has fucked off.
Yeah, exactly.
And but yeah, that like slow like destruction of Bitcoin maximalists was kind of, for me, just kind of hilarious, coming from a shitcoiner and ultimately coming from a Bitcoiner. Like, she is a Bitcoiner that later shitcoined, and now I think she is trying to lately justify why she doesn't want to be a Bitcoiner anymore, because we're all racist, misogynist, incels, alt-right, and so she's on the good side now. And then when she describes her side, it's just a load of money-grabbing idiots. Like, well, that doesn't sound like a good side to be on, Melton. It's I gave her a minute of airtime. So.
Yeah. Is she just conflicted?
I think she's just salty.
Yeah. Ultimately, like you say, if you've lost money and if she gets back up, maybe she'll become pure again in terms of her money. and therefore won't need to do those other things. And perhaps even it's just, again, a classic low time preference. Because if Bitcoin was to all of a sudden increase, then, right, I can settle. I don't need to do these shitcoins activities on the side to keep me going. And I can just rely purely on Bitcoin. But for now, to stay relevant, I need to kind of do this. I need to promote whatever scam that I can. I need to believe in NFTs because I need to continue this wave until I can get back to where I was. It's like when people are at the casino, isn't it? And they were up, and then they lose money, and they're down, and they're now in the hole, and they're trying to chase, and they're chasing until they finally get there, but they never get there.
Yeah, never chase boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And then they end up just either down and out, or they finally just break even and then just run off.
Yeah, I think in reality, I think she also knows is that the Bitcoin community won't accept her back now. It's kind of like you get a few chances with Bitcoin, and if you make some mistakes and you go shitcoining, we'll be okay with you. It's like, okay, you've gone off, you'll get chastised for that, but if you admit it and go, it was a mistake, I'll come back, then you're all good. The problem with her is that she went off in shitcoin, we called her out on it, and she went, no, you're wrong, and continued to do it. And she's continued to do it for about 5 years. So now, look, you are more than intelligent enough to get Bitcoin. You clearly get it. And you are clearly now just shitcoining purely for profit, knowing that Bitcoin is still the original thing, but you're shitcoining and you're scamming and you know what you're doing. You will never be allowed back in. You're not going to come back on the Bitcoin podcasts and talk about Bitcoin ever again. You're done. You are clearly a scammer. And so therefore, she's just burning the bridge now. She's like, you're all fucking racists anyway, misogynists, alt-right. Fuck you guys. It's like, no, you can't quit. We fired you. Like, so.
That's the one.
Anyway, moving on from her, we're moving on
Get
to
rid of her. Yeah. The top G. Andrew Tate. So I only came across this guy maybe just over a month ago, and didn't know that there was so much content around about him. And he'd been doing his thing for a while, talking a lot about governments, talking a lot about the financial history and the financial kind of background as to why people are being enslaved essentially by the debasement of money, but then also some real strong views on women and how to treat women. And he has now been banned from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I've also just heard today YouTube as well. So they are going after him. Now, the last interview that I watched with him, last two actually, one was with Pomp and Andrew Pompliano, and then the other was with Leah Halpern. And she has a really good podcast with some decent content, and she's a Bitcoin maximalist as well.
Leia?
Yeah, Leia.
No, she's a shitcoiner.
Have you seen her? Is she a shitcoiner?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Live reactions.
I'm blocked by her. She dated fuck, I've forgotten his name now. The black rapper who I was
Zuby,
yeah, the guy who did the profile picture. She dated him, and I think they literally split up because she's a shitcoiner and Zuby's a Bitcoin maximalist. So,
but I thought Zuby did some shitcoining.
He did also shitcoin, yeah. But yeah, they dated, and I think at the time Zuby was Bitcoin maximalist. She was a shitcoiner. She shitcoined. They split up over it, and then Zuby later, like a year later, shitcoined himself. But unfortunately, Leia, I think she is a Bitcoiner, but she knows that there is money in shitcoin, so she promotes shitcoins for money, I think, which is a shame. So I've called her out numerous times on that, and hence I am blocked on Twitter for doing so.
Because you did it in a kind, loving, compassionate way that you normally do.
You fucking scammer. No, if anything, like, I think that the funnier you make it, like the more likes you get, that's what gets you banned, right? Because
of course,
that's what gets you blocked, because like she's obviously quite a high profile account. So when you comment, like, she's not going to see it probably. But if you say something funny, or you say it in the right way, it gets hundreds of likes, and you're like, oh, I know what's happening next. And then the next day you check her profile, it says blocked. You're like, of course. The Bitcoin is like that joke too good. And I was a victim of my own success. So. But yeah, Andrew Tate.
He's gone. He's not on Truth Social, which I recently downloaded as well. Of course,
Donald Trump's one.
Yeah, Donald Trump's one. Yeah,
I haven't downloaded that.
Yeah, I think though that the more people that get cancelled is promoting Truth and the other platforms, because ultimately these people are going to go somewhere. They had a voice, they had some substance to what they were saying, and that substance, of course, is now being blocked and cancelled, and ultimately people want to hear that. But of course, if you don't want to hear it and you don't agree with it, then you don't need to listen to it. You don't need to necessarily cancel the individuals.
Yeah, I think the main point for me about this story is he doesn't seem to have done anything hugely wrong. It seems to be that all the sites seem to be citing multiple violations of their terms and services. So they're just going, oh, he's being sexist. And if anything, I think that's the only one I've seen, is sexism, actually. I don't think I've seen any others. But because he's done it multiple times, and weirdly, it's all at the same day. They've all just agreed. Oh, suddenly, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So that's like multiple companies here we're talking about, all decide on the same day, the same individual, which before had gone viral on all their platforms, hasn't he? I don't know how this guy had done it, where he just went from nothing to like superstardom in a couple of months. Yeah. You see, what I know about his system is he seemed to have gone, join my group, and the way to join my group is to basically pitch me and share comments of me and videos of me into your social media. And then that will get you into the group. And then if your mates do that, share the same videos of me. And so what happened was the world got flooded with Andrew Tate, because if you shared a video, you got part of a group. And if that video got so many likes, you got into this clan and So he seemed to just game the algorithm better than anyone has ever gamed the algorithm before.
Yeah.
And just was everywhere. And then fair play to him. Like, you shared a video of him. Probably the first I'd really heard of him properly was when you shared a video. I think I'd seen him on an advert or something and then just clicked off. But I listened to him, and like, the guy does talk a lot of sense. He is very much is a Bitcoiner. But then obviously he's got very outlandish views about relationships and all that type of stuff. And I straight away I saw him like, he reminded me of do you remember Milo Yiannopoulos or something? Can't remember his name.
No.
He's a very outlandish gay guy. And he got cancelled off all social media as well. And
probably why.
Literally was, because he was just a very big personality that just spoke a lot of sense and was funny and had a great personality and very charismatic. So people listened, and he was funny as well. Like, Milo was very funny. So they were literally waiting to cancel him. And he got cancelled over saying that the female remake of Blockbusters was shit or something. I think he did some kind of jibe at like one of the female leads and said she was fat or ugly or something. And that was what they cancelled him for. But really, he'd been going at the government institutions, the money printing, all that stuff. Like that was really why he did it. They just went, oh no, on the surface level, he's being sexist against a fat white woman, or maybe a fat white black woman, even worse.
Yeah, ticking 2 boxes there.
Yeah, she's fat and black and a woman, 3 boxes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm guessing that's what Andrew Tate's then, right? He's just been sexist a couple of too many times. But I think in reality, like
comments.
He's dangerous, though, isn't he? He's dangerous, and that's why he's been cancelled.
Yeah. These I don't think were new comments. They were from previously like old videos and views of things that he had said. But funnily enough, Leia came out with a video just yesterday saying that I've met Andrew multiple times, been in Andrew's presence by myself, met with him in Miami by myself. Yeah, been in London by myself, and he didn't ever say anything misogynistic. He didn't come on to me. He ordered me a taxi, blah, blah, like nothing bad or, unsavory went down.
And Andrew Tate only dates 18-year-olds anyway because he can mold them. Leia is like 27, so she's like,
yeah,
it's mutton.
Yeah,
send her out to pasture.
So yeah, she was actually singing his praises. She just basically gave him he's not as bad as you really think sort of pass.
He didn't try and rape me.
Yeah.
Therefore, maybe he's not racist. Maybe. No, I'm obviously taking a piss because no one's even accused him of a rape. But I don't even know why he got banned. I read all the articles, and all they seem to list is multiple violations of our terms of service. And I went, okay, which ones?
Yeah.
It didn't seem to say. It's like, why did this guy get banned? And it just seems to be like, look, this guy is clearly spreading too much truth. So they just wanted to cancel him nice and early before he gets too much traction, because he was talking a lot of sense on Bitcoin podcasts. He is very much like definitely been orange pilled, realizes that money is a scam, Bitcoin is truth, fiat is a lie. And the problem is he layered on so many other things, which I must admit, I agree with a lot of the things he says. I don't agree with his mentality, and I don't agree with his pay group, and I don't agree with his kind of social media, like repost this type stuff. It's a little bit scammy, but
what I liked about and it was a different concept that I'd come across is when he was on Pomp's show is he said rather than trying to be off grid, be on multiple grids, so that when something bad happens in one place, you have the ability to pick up and move and go to a different grid, because we've seen it. And that was a key truth for me. Something will happen or could happen, and you therefore will have to pick your friends and family up and then move potentially. And I think this is one of the comments which he said, which I get, but of course was taken offensively. He said, women are like children if you try to travel with them. Like, they'll be screaming, they'll get hangry, and you can't just if you and I went traveling together, it doesn't matter if we stay in the same clothes for the next 3 or 4 days. It doesn't matter if we've not showered. Whereas a woman would be like, no, I need to shower. I need to change. I need a set meal at this time, etc.
Yeah.
And he was basically referring to them as kids, because you couldn't travel with a kid and do that. Yeah. So I get it, but of course it came across really, really badly.
Because I kind of get it, but there's many exceptions to that rule, of course. But to be cancelled off social media for saying that, it almost loops back to the first story he has, which is just free speech, right? Which is, I should be able to call you a fraud, even if you're not. You can just go, I'm not, and carry on. And Andrew Tate should be able to say, women are like babies, and carry on. We shouldn't have someone sat inside some type of company going, no, like, you're not allowed to call that person a fraud, so therefore you're going to have to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds in damages, or you're not allowed to say women are like babies, so we're going to cancel and just delete your account, even though you have millions of followers. You should be able to say what you want to say. If you don't want to hear it, don't listen.
Yeah.
I think that Andrew Tate isn't far off away from what Bitcoiners do say, but he's more extreme. I honestly do think he's saying some stuff for likes, for attention. He's saying it for shock value. So it's worked to get him attention. I don't agree with a lot of the things he said. I think a lot of things he says are wrong and a bit scammy. But then there's the fundamental truth that sits inside it. I do think he is orange pilled. I do think he knows what he's doing. So now
neither of us are going to allow our daughters near him. So
no, clearly, no.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So
he's literally. I don't even know what the thing I read was he likes to date 18-year-olds so he can mold them. I'm like, well, you only need one of those then, right? You want one 18-year-old to mold and then be your wife. Why you got 20? Like, it's just weird.
It was things like that, and so he always said younger women, never underage, and he was never like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right, younger women. But you've got to think, even though I'm sure he's in his 40s or so.
It's weird. When he had hair, he looked like a bit meh. Then he goes bald, gets a few muscles. It looks pretty all right now.
Well, I actually look back to his kickboxing career, and he was legit. Like, he was knocking guys out with ease as well, to be the 4-time world kickboxing champion that he was.
You know, when he said he wasn't world champion, like proper world champion, was he?
The fights that I saw, they look legit, yeah.
Was it like the Abu Dhabi McDonald's 6-star championship world champion?
We'll probably have to come back on that, actually. I'll share the video with you, and
I've seen a video of him training against an ex-UFC star. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, this was like proper his championship fights against other legit kickboxers, where he won.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think he is a legit kickboxer. He does look pretty good, and then somewhere he just transitions, doesn't he, into guru?
Yeah.
He realizes his kickboxing career isn't going to Conor McGregor status, so he just goes, fuck it, dropping that, going into business guru, and then just goes into this crazy kind of like load of rants. And the crazy thing is, probably from today onwards, no one will ever hear of him again, because all of his accounts have been deleted.
Exactly.
He went from zero to hero in like a month.
It's interesting, isn't it, that in this day and age, unless you're on those platforms, however, you will not be heard from anymore.
Yeah.
So if you are blocked on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or Meta, Instagram, that is it. You have been cancelled. Ta-ta. TikTok.
You don't exist. Yeah. It's crazy. That's why it's so dangerous, right? It's our new little town square where people would go and hear the news and all that type of stuff. We used to have millions of town squares all around the world. Now, 4 or 5 town squares. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it might be. There's only a few. And if you get blocked from all of those, then essentially you are silenced. You don't exist. You're gone. And obviously a lot of us are gone anyway, because we're not even heard.
Yeah.
But at least you can show up, right? At least you can shout. At least the person that's speaking, you go, fuck off, or whatever. Like, at least you can throw your 2 cents in.
Yeah.
But
with digital orange.
Yeah.
When see what I did there.
But it's kind of crazy when there's just basically 4 companies in the world that can go, oh, right, the speakers are predetermined by us. And by the way, you as an audience, if you speak out of line, you also get cancelled and deleted, and you can never speak again at this conference. It's a little bit strange, isn't it? It's and very dangerous. I think that our town squares are now 4 websites that are run by 4 billionaires that also are co-owned by the US government, who are also co-owned by the WEF.
Do you remember, I know you're not a music fan, but do you remember when they cancelled Wiley?
No, what do you do?
Yeah, so he was basically coming out against the government, saying exactly like what we know, and he was cancelled, music taken down as well. So you could no longer stream his music via Apple or Spotify, which again is, you know, the other extreme, dependent on what obviously type of artist that you are, because we'll take you off all of those streaming sites. But then he was let back on, and nowadays he's playing ball. You know, he's not saying anything too outlandish, and it's a case, I guess, of ultimately, well, if you say the right things and you behave, you can come back in. We'll give you a ban indefinitely, and we'll watch your behavior. And then if you do behave, all right, you can come back to the party. But now you know what you need to do and the consequences of what it will be like should you step out of line. So he no longer goes under the name of himself. It's more like I Go Live streams. You know, he had to like change everything. So Andrew Tate might be able to come back in some way, shape, or form under a different guise, as opposed to this. But the character and everything that he says will have to be reformed. And as we thought, Trump may have returned back to Twitter.
Is Trump back?
I don't think he is back. No. Because that was the talk, wasn't it? When Elon was being touted to take over, and that
if Trump came back, he's guaranteed presidency.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy can meme better than any fucker, right? This is fucking good.
Yeah. Well, he's doing that now on Trump Social, from what I've seen.
Yeah, the problem is no one sees it. It's like
no one sees it.
He needs to be on there where he can get retweeted by all the famous people, and like it goes viral and it gets reported on.
Correct, because after a quick scroll through, there wasn't that many people on there. It's just, you know, it's a closed community because people haven't really migrated over to there. But again, as I said, the more people that get cancelled, I think it gives more enhancement to these other platforms.
It does. And I must admit, like coming back to the metaverse thing, it doesn't exist right now. No one is building it, but I want it, because if we rebuild everything that's on the internet into the next thing, at least it gives us another go at free speech again. I know what will happen. The same thing will happen. What happened with the internet is the fact that there are a million websites that exist right now, but we only use 4. And because we use 4 guys get to go who says what, and we're done. We're so fucking done. And we should just go, right, these guys are clearly misusing their authority. We should just use a Facebook clone or an Instagram clone or whatever, but we don't want to lose our followers. We don't want to lose our likes. We don't want to lose our history. We're like, oh no, like fucking. And so because they're like that, they can control it. So we need to move to a different metaverse, and then potentially it all changes. But yeah, I think in reality, I think before the metaverse even happens, I genuinely think a new version of the internet will happen, because this version of the internet is going to get so censored and so controlled, and free speech can get so limited that if someone can build a version of a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that genuinely, I don't know, maybe Truth Central or whatever, Truth Social, someone needs to build some of it, just that we can just say whatever the fuck we want, get mass adoption, and people not be cancelled. And you can be as sexist or as racist or as homophobic as you want. And guess what? If you don't like it, you just block them and they're fucking gone. Like, it's just, there you go, they're done. And you don't need to cancel them from the whole platform. Like, just let them live. That's what we need to get to, because I think all the platforms at the moment are going, now everyone is whiter than white inside here, inside this little bubble. And you're like, people aren't like that though. People aren't perfect. We are all imperfect little creations, and just let us be imperfect. So when someone is imperfect, don't block them and like silence them forever. Just go, if 10% of the community is offended by that comment, let that 10% block that person. Now, every single thing that person says is not heard by that 10%. Great. And if they continue to say shit that is so dumb, eventually they get blocked by the other 100%. They're now literally talking to themselves. So we're done, right? And so the community is acted, that 7 billion people, this one guy is talking to himself, the other 7 billion have blocked him. Let's just let that happen. And but no one seems to be willing to do that at the moment. And I do think it's through ulterior motives, which really, they don't care about racism, they don't care about sexism, they don't care about people being misogynist. Really what they care about is people talking truth about government printing of money and inflation. That's really what triggers them. That's really what got Andrew Tate blocked and banned, because he was talking too much truth about the monetary system. If he was just talking about dating advice, I think he'd have been still alive. But he's talking about money now and Bitcoin, and they've gone, no, cut this guy off at the knees. He's gone. And we all need to acknowledge that and go, this is well, it's something that can happen to anyone, because any of us that get famous, if the government see us, they're going to block our accounts and ban us. And I'm waiting for this podcast to get blocked and banned.
I was going to say exactly the same. I was going to say exactly the same. If this podcast sees the light of day to the very end of where we're at right now, unbelievable. It'll be, it'll be unbelievable with all of the rest of them, because they've got algorithms that actually scan what is or has been said super quick as well. Because I've been watching a couple of shows where, they don't even mention the V word. They call it something else, like, the magic juice.
We do. It's the vaccine. It's COVID. Don't take the vaccine. It's fucking poison.
There we go. That's cancelled. Okay. So these last.
You want myocarditis? I read an article the other day, actually. Here you go. Here's an article for you, right? Apparently, some anti-vaxxers were spreading the horrendous rumor, right, that the vaccine causes myocarditis in 1 in 3 teenagers. The fact checkers came in and went, this is wholly wrong. These anti-vaxxers are so wrong. It only spreads myocarditis in 1 in 6 teenagers. Fact checked. Like, you do realize that's still quite a lot of teenagers.
Still quite a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go.
There we go.
But the good thing is no one ever gets to this point. So if we get to the really extreme cancellation kind of content, this is the time to do it, because the audiences definitely aren't getting to this point. Our listeners will get to this point. So it's all good. We can literally say whatever we want right now.
There we go. Fuck you, YouTube. Thanks very much. This has been podcast number 64, brought to you by Mr. All In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, myself, Sir Neverlock, aka you know who I am, the excellence of execution. He was here, but he was never here, Mrs. No Show. And next week, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, should be back. Peace.